I suppose I'd like to start by, and I think remarks have been made about Deputy Dan Neville. My first experience with Deputy Neville in relation to this issue was a long number of years ago, when someone who was unsuccessful at the time in their attempt to take their own life came to Cork, and Deputy Neville contacted me, and between the two of us, I suppose we befriended the person and did a little bit of socialisation with them. So it's not just in relation to prevention or indeed public information, but Dan's record stands as well in relation to people who have not been successful, and he has talked quite a number of them and their families through very difficult situations, and it's for that, I think, that we should be most grateful. I also think it's appropriate, Lascian Corla, that I recognise the contribution that the Minister who was in this position previous to myself, John Maloney, was very dedicated to the area as well, and did in fact put in place a lot of the initiatives that are now being followed through on, and I think that's appropriate. I always feel that if we constantly say that if there were more women involved in the decision making in society, that things would be different, then it is incumbent on us as women to act differently in getting there, and I think acknowledging what others have done is very important. I would like to thank all of the deputies who have contributed in a very sincere manner and clearly know the subject, and I suppose know the subject on the basis of personal experience, which is a sad way to find out about a subject like suicide. But it strikes me that the numbers of people who have taken their own lives, the last statistics they have, would in fact fill this chamber more than 3 times over. And I think we need to always keep that in mind. We somehow attend an individual funeral, or we hear of maybe a cluster of 3 or 4 or 5 in any particular area. It's very difficult to envisage what the number of over 500 people is. But I think if you close your eyes, it's virtually a small village. And I think if that happened as a single tragedy any year, I think our response would be far more immediate and far more urgent. And I think that's really what we need to do. We need to keep in mind the amounts we're talking about and the devastation that each individual death leaves after them. Not just in terms of their families, which is the most immediate devastation, but indeed their friends, the community, and the terror that it sends through each house in that immediate area. And I think that's really what it is about. It is about that sense of terror that maybe wants us not to speak about it, that maybe says to us if we don't speak about it, then somehow it won't happen again. And we all know that's not true, because it has gone on for so long. I listened as well, and it was interesting to hear virtually every speaker compare the funding in relation to the National Road Safety Authority and suicide prevention. And of course there's a comparison to be made in terms of funding. But I'm not certain that the comparison can be made in terms of how people die and the manner in which they die. I must admit I'm not into that. I can understand that it's an easy argument to make, but I must admit that I don't think that you're comparing like with like. I don't think you're comparing like with like. I think in terms of road accidents, I think on the 6 o'clock news every night you can see the carnage. We don't see that in terms of suicide. We don't see that. And I'm not certain we want to see it in terms of suicide. Not certain we want to see it. What I am saying is that people who decide to take their life by suicide, it's not an immediate decision. It's something they've thought about. And I think what is important is that we should say to those people today who are listening and who will be contemplating suicide, talk to someone. You know, the old adage that talk is good is vital. Talk to someone. Pick up the phone if you can't talk to those near to you. Talk to the various helplines. Go and see your GP. Talk to your sisters. Talk to your brothers. Talk to someone. Talk to someone. Because it is important that we recognise that people who have taken this course of action do need someone to talk to. And they need help. And that help is there. And that help, when it's given, can divert people away from this pattern. It's very important. And we are not just talking about strangers on the street. We're talking about fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, a beloved son. That's who we're talking about. And I suppose in this whole argument about where we're going in terms of mental health, because the stigma attaching to mental health is probably the greatest preventer of people seeking help in the first instance. Why do we have this attachment to stigma in relation to mental health? Surely it is no different than having cancer. You know, a number of years ago, I remember that you wouldn't say the word cancer in public. It would be the big C, or she's been diagnosed with the other thing. We've gotten past that because we recognise that it's a disease, and it's a disease that's very, it's not alone preventable, but curable and treatable. But so is mental illness. And we really need to get our heads around that. And we need to start saying it out loud. We need to start exploding the picture. Last night I was at a launch of Making a Ripple, which is an excellent new campaign in terms of internet and people who are feeling down and feeling unwell in relation to their mental health, who can go online now and share their stories and look at other people's stories. And amazingly, one of the people who is headlining on that Making a Ripple campaign is Alistair Campbell, someone we would all have an affinity with in here. Alistair Campbell, hugely successful in terms of politics, in terms of his writing, and in terms of his contribution to society, and who suffers from depression. And he talks about it. Some days he's feeling very good, some days it's a little bit mild, other days he stares into the abyss. But he talks about it. And we need to start doing that. We need people to come out and start talking about the very bad days which they've gone past. And I worry that we're not providing, and we're not allowing young men, and not so young men anymore, the opportunity to speak and the opportunity to tell us that they're feeling vulnerable. Because I'm a great believer in balance. And I've spent my life trying to get the type of balance that is necessary into society in order that women can be treated equally. But sometimes by creating balance in one area, you put something else out of kilter. And we need to start telling men, young men, middle-aged men, that they are not just valued as being providers. They are valued as fathers. They are valued as brothers. They are valued as contributors to society. And we value them. And we need to start doing that. You know, when men lose their job, lose their businesses, and I can understand all of that. And I can understand the type of humiliation that they feel because they can no longer provide what they provided in the past. That's not what we value in you. We value your contribution to your family. We value your contribution to society. We value you. And I think we need to get that message out there. We need to get it out there. You know, Deputy Naughton told us about how much it costs the economy in terms of people who suffer from depression and in terms of people who take their own lives. I just wonder how we in fact look at how successful people are. You know, is it all about the economy? Is it all about the big car? Is it all about the big house? I hope not. I think we have to go back and start reconstructing how we look at people and how we value success and how we monitor that success. And what do we consider success to be? I know that most people look on families and say, someone that's a very good father. You know, isn't that a very honourable thing to be?
don't wish to interrupt the Deputy Minister, but I have a short time left.
Thank you very much. I think we need to start doing that. We need to start thinking outside the box when it comes to people that take their own lives and people that suffer from depression. We need to start talking out very clearly about stigma, and we need to start telling people, you know, that it is not the shameful thing that they think it is. 75% of mental illness emerges during childhood and adolescence. Early intervention is essential so as it doesn't bring with it a lifetime of pain and misery. And we can do that, and there are projects that do it. And the voluntary agencies out there that do tremendous work, Jigsaw, Headstrong, all of those agencies that have been hugely successful. We need to roll those out around the country. We need to give people the opportunity to approach not just agencies, but to feel that they can approach someone. Deputy Dáil spoke about a ban on alcohol. I think that the day is fast approaching when alcohol needs to be put into the whole bundle of what we consider to be harmful drugs. I think that day is fast approaching, and it needs to happen. I think we need. But if we are going to have a ban on alcohol, I mean, is anyone saying that alcohol doesn't have the same destructive effect on our health as cigarettes did, for instance? No. But yet we still maintain that we can advertise in relation to alcohol. But if we are to have that ban, it has to be European-wide, because otherwise it's useless. Pointless RTE banning advertising if we get it on the BBC and UTV. So we would have to do that. We have to get the message out that success is not automatically success in relation to the economy. Success is in how you contribute to society. We will have to look at ways, for instance, of going into primary schools and talking to very young children about their feelings. We won't go in there and talk to them about their mental health, but we'll talk to them about their feelings. And the amazing thing is that very young children very quickly identify and can name a bully. They know what it is. They say, that guy's a bully. It's just as they get older, they can't do that because somehow it's considered to be less manly when they go into second and third level. And we need to start going in there. We need to start putting in place, if we talk about an industry and the workplace, that you have to have a safe pass, and you have to have, under legislation, you have to be instructed in how to conduct your work safely within any industry. Then surely your mental health must be part and parcel of that, and we need to start stitching that into legislation as well. We need to start talking the talk. We need to start breaking the silence. Safe talk, assist, they need to be part and parcel of how we give induction courses into all employment. And it's only when we get that holistic approach to our mental health, it's only when we all start to talk about it, it's only then that people will feel safe and secure in approaching others. The last government, this government, the next government cannot do this on their own. It is about societal issue, and society has to take ownership of it. The government has to put in place the structures in order for people who do feel they can approach a service, for them to be serviced. But we all need to get hold of this, and we all need to start recognising the signs. And when someone does feel as if they're under threat, then we need to be able to say to them, how are you doing today? And when people feel secure in approaching us, whether it's as a friend, as a neighbour, as a member of the family, then I think we'll get somewhere. But it's something we need to do, because if you close your eyes and say to yourself that you can fill this chamber more than 3 times with the amount of people who have taken their lives in the last known statistics, then I think that's something we need to deal with. Thank you.